Hey guys, happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday, isn't it? I don't know why I get caught up with the Thursday and Tuesday thing, but happy terrific Tuesday. Welcome to Conversations from Paris. You already know how we do. I am excited to be here. So, we're going to have a good conversation. And I'm ready for us to talk and continue this series on healthy relationships. How was your weekend? Did you guys do anything worthwhile? Hey, girl. Hey, Yolanda, girl. How are you? Um, I hope you guys had a good weekend. I hope you got some rest. I hope you got some stuff done. I hope you reset. I've been thinking about that lately, just resetting. Sometimes, when your phone's not working, or when you call in and they say your computer's not working, they tell you to reboot it. Your phone's not working, they tell you to reset it. Sometimes we just need to reset. And so sometimes that's where I feel like my weekends come in at. It's like I get this reset. And depending on how busy things can be, I don't always feel that way, but that's what the goal is, to try to find some time to reset. Um, you say, okay, well, listen, hey, as long as you happy and, or well, happy is we'll talk about happy another day, but as long as you are breathing and able to say I'm okay, I can take that. I can work with okay. I can work with okay, y'all. I'm gonna let a few more people come in here because I'm excited, guys. The more I dig into this topic, I just did you don't realize how much is there, right? And today, um definitely wanted to go to do a little bit more of a deep dive into what we when, what we talk about. What do we mean when we talk about healthy relationships, right? I think that last week I kind of just lightly walked in and told you what my definition of healthy relationship is, and for those who were not on, and if you're catching the replay or not, and guys, share this if you're on, because you don't know how many people don't really know what a healthy relationship looks like. And again, this is not a shade because I didn't know, right? You think you don't necessarily know. It's not something that's automatic. I think you have to be intentional about learning what it is and be intentional about doing it. So, definitely something that, not shading of somebody if they don't know, but also making sure that being completely um what's the word? Being completely like, hey, I want to help educate. Like, if I can't say, oh, y'all don't know nothing, and then not be willing to help, right? That's the part where I think we get a little bit high on our shoulders. It's like, oh, they don't know this, and you're not willing to help educate. My dad used to always say, if you're not going to create a solution, don't complain about the problem. And I didn't understand it as a young person, but he used to always say that if you're not going to create a solution, don't complain about the problem. That's a good saying, actually. So definition again for healthy relationships. All it is comprised of four main things, in my opinion, and this is not just my opinion. This is how it is looked at. Um, it's honesty, trust, respect, and open communication. Those are the four things: honesty, trust, respect, and open communication between the both parties. And it takes effort and compromise from both people as well. So those are the things it takes, right? Sometimes we just want a relationship. We don't realize it's work. I mean, I know y'all hear about marriages. People say, okay, once you get married, that's just the beginning. You still have to do active work. And that's true. But it's not just marriages, it's any romantic relationship, any friendship, any parental child relationship, any sibling relationship, anything that's worth keeping, you actually have to put work in. And I don't care what anybody say, well, that's just my best friend. I don't have to. It's effortless. Let me tell you something. If you go through anything and if y'all are really as close as you say, there will be a moment in time where you find yourself having to not just rely on the happiness and the good times of a relationship. There will be some times when things don't feel so great, but if the relationship is worth fighting for, that's when these things are going to matter. I'm telling you, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you, these things are going to matter, and it's going to be necessary for you to know these things, right? So today, I wanted to kind of go over some ideas of what we think how our relationships have went so far. And not even just that, but I want to give some examples and let's talk about some things. Will we talk about the scope of what's healthy, what's toxic, what's dysfunctional, and just what what we have been used to, right? Um, I always tell people it's no right or wrong answer, but there are some things that are red flags. There are some things that are yellow flags, and we want to be able to sit down and not have this. Sometimes when we're in the middle of a situation, we are reacting. Everything's a reaction, right? Everything is like, oh, this person hurt my feelings, this person came at me, this person was that. And we're not able to think, what's the word? We're not able to think clearly. We're not able to think and not, without having this bias into the idea of, wow, they hurt me, and trying to figure out if it's anything that we did that helped cause it, right? You won't think, what's the word I want to use? You're not going to be fair. It's a better word I'm trying to use. You won't be you're not going to evaluate it correctly when you have your emotions on top, right? And I tell you guys about emotional intelligence all the time. I absolutely believe in it. I absolutely believe that you have to have it on your relationships. But I also believe that I also believe I'm sorry. I also believe that in doing so, you have to be able to not let your emotions lead you. Remember we talked about that before, what emotional self-care is, being able to say, I have emotions. I am not going to hide them. I'm not going to bury them. I'm not going to pretend like it's not true. But then at the same time, I'm not going to have it to the point where my emotions are leading me. You don't want to be in a place where your emotions lead you. It's okay to know that they're there. It's okay to acknowledge them, but to be the Bible says your emotions are deceitful. And I used to be like, well, that's not true. I didn't understand that. I'll be honest with you. When I was younger, I'm like, I didn't get it. But it took me till I got older till I understood that in a moment of time, your emotion can say you feel this way, that way, and it's not necessarily completely true about the totality of how you might view somebody or view a situation. In that moment, you could be upset or angry or hurt or happy, but that doesn't mean that that's the totality of it. It's just a fleeting a moment, right? And that feeling in that moment. And so that's why I say you cannot allow your emotions to lead you. Um, Definitely pay attention to them, but don't let it lead over your logic and just over evaluating all situations. So today we're going to talk about some things that happen in some relationships that we can honestly look back at and say, you know what? When I was in this thing, this felt like it was this way, that way, that way. And then when you step out and you have a perspective that's objective, you realize that, wow, okay, maybe it wasn't exactly that way. Um, and that's what, I'm always going to always like pump up therapy. Like I don't think y'all even get how amazing it is. The whole purpose of this show is to advocate for mental health. Um, just even people realizing that it's good to talk about it. Like let's have these conversations so you understand this is a nice healthy thing to do with your family, your friends, your people you're in relationships with. But not only that, but even if you need to go beyond that, to have an unbiased person to be able to hear you and help you and give you the tools that you need to sort through life, and it's the best gift you could ever get yourself. We talk about self-care on 1,000. That's what therapy is, and I always suggest that. But this is what part of this happens too, is that you're able to get an unbiased person to help you kind of pick through the pieces of a thing, because sometimes we don't know if it is, and you don't want to necessarily talk to somebody who might know something, and you don't want to necessarily put your business out there. What better way is it to talk to somebody who is um, in this field that can help you to kind of gather yourself and figure out, okay, this is what happened in the past. This is where I'm at now, and this is where I want to go in the future. If you don't know where you're in the past, you won't know where to go, and you won't know how to like sort what's currently in front of you. So that's where I want to kind of start it today. Like we want to start talking about some things and really digging in. One of the first things I like to see things. I like to really look at stuff from social media sometimes and really draw some inspiration before. And so, to maybe get some ideas on how to think about this stuff. And one of the things I read the other day was about somebody was talking about a friend that they had since childhood, and that this person they were like sisters. They would do everything together. The kids would play together. They were each other's weddings, everything. They've been together for years. I think they said almost 20 years. And so, and I think something happened where um, the person started kind of pushing away. They stopped talking as much. And they found out they kind of had another group of friends. And although that was not the initial issue, it was because it felt like they were shifting, and it became a point of um, the person who reported it was saying that they no longer feel safe in this um, relationship. And they felt like that person was being phony. They crossed them, and all these things. And from what they gave, the examples that they gave, the things they were saying, again, I don't know the whole situation, but this thing comes up a lot, talking about when you've had a friendship or a relationship for any length of time, anything over a few years, even like, I would like to say anything over 5 years or so, it becomes a thing where you really do get a bond that is very much cherished between two people. And you want to be careful to understand that it's not, it's feelings do get all intertwined. Hey, mom. Feelings do get all intertwined, um, and interest start to get blurred, especially if you feel like you're sisters or brothers, or if you feel like you've grown this type of closeness and this intimacy that is not norm. That's a little bit more than just somebody I work with or someone I went to school with. This is literally like I really consider this person like one of my people. And so it gets a little funny when you have such a long, lengthy relationship. And they said they're almost 20 years. Let me tell you what we have to remember about that. I'm gonna ask the question: are you guys the same person that you were a year ago, or 2 years ago, or even 3 years ago? Um, answer that for me. I'm gonna raise my hand. I am not. I'm not the same person I was last year. If you're looking for Paris from 2021, I'm not there. If you're looking for Paris from 2019, she's gone. And if you're even looking for somebody from 2015, she's long gone. And I know people like, what you acting brand new? That's the term we always like to use. But I think we have to be very careful with that. Our kids, look at kids from the time that they are born to the time they are one. Their little brains are growing and absorbing so much information. They're learning how to walk and talk. Their brain is like 10 times the average, doing the average thing of what our adult brains are doing. So they're processing so much information. They're learning so many things about the environment. They're taking cues from you, taking cues from everything around. They're like a sponge. They're learning so many things. And as we get older, they change. So a 3-month-old has different expectancies from a 6-month-old to a 9-month-old. When you go to a doctor, they check those different ages and certain things they should be able to do to say that they're growing normally, right? They can exceed, but if anything under, we can say, something's wrong, right? Then, like, okay, you get to a year, it's substantially different from what's happening at 2 years old, substantially different from what's happening at 3. Vice versa, you get where I'm going. So if this is what's happening from a child, at what point do we believe that we're supposed to stop growing because we've turned 21? And at what point do we think we arrive? Or when we graduate school, when we have a family? when we have a business, when we're doing well in our career, when we bought a house. Like, at what point do we expect us to stop, like, growing and maturing and being a new person? And don't get me wrong, some people don't go the up way. Some people go down. Some people can move. Like, but at what point do you believe that you have made it? Why am I asking this question? I'm asking this question because I believe this idea is though I don't think we give people grace to grow. I don't think we give people enough grace to grow. And what that means is that if we are friends, if we're in a relationship, um, if I mean, even my child, my son, um, my siblings, all of it, even your parents, like, it's so interesting. Sometimes we have this idea that we know what's best and we think how people should act. And if they do anything outside of this ball or this realm of what we believe they should do, then they're acting funny. They're being, they don't care about us. They're not, they're not keeping it 100. And I think it's so toxic for us to put a box around people. Absolutely, a person has changed after 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Absolutely, they have. I would expect you to. Matter of fact, what usually you should worry about is if that person that you're dealing with after 10 years is the exact same person they were 10 years ago. You should be concerned. And I know you guys like, well, no, I don't change up. Listen, it's okay to say that I'm the same old, like I'm there for you. You can be there for somebody, but if you are like, if your mind is not changed, if you have not evolved your thoughts, the 20-year-old you should not be the 30-year-old you. Fight me. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not going to take that back. The 30-year-old you shouldn't be the 40-year-old you. There should be some noticeable changes. There should be some growth. There should be some lessons you've learned. So in this conversation that I was looking at, where that person was talking about this relationship that is, that person crossed them. Now, from what they were telling me, I'm not judging. I don't know them. That's why I'm not going to bring up the situation exactly. But I wanted to bring up this idea of people believing that because you're not, not on the same page anymore, that your enemies or your people that don't like each other, that they don't care about you. And I just want to come and really take your emotions out of it, lay it on the table, and let's evaluate. That's why we talk about this is inventory. You're going to take inventory and do an assessment of your relationships. This is what we're talking about today. You got to take the emotion out of it and be honest about what role you played, what role that other person played, what feelings were around, what other situations and circumstances caused you to feel the way you did. And if your feelings are valid now, even if you feel like they were valid then, is that the correct assessment of the situation? Okay. Let me tell you something. Life happens. I mean, we're having kids, we working, changing careers, we're starting businesses, we're dealing with our health, we're dealing with so many different things. A lot of times we don't have a chance to go back and look back at the situation and see if there's something different we could have done, right? And so, or if it was like something we could have reacted differently, right? And I mean, I'm guilty of sometimes that too. Like, if situation ended, I'm like, well, in the past, I'm like, well, then so be it. And before I used to like, oh my God, I used to torture myself over a situation. So, and pick things apart, like what happened and all of these things. And I told you about extremes. We don't do extremes anymore. We do balance, right? So don't want to be obsessing over a thing, trying to figure out every little thing I'm doing wrong. And I also don't want to be a point where I literally am dismissive, like forget it, that, they're lost. I want to be able to look at it in a holistic way and take all of the situation, all of the details and be able to figure it out. So like in that situation, what I was talking about, like we have to really assess and see if somebody was purposely trying to hurt us or we got hurt as a byproduct of not understanding the dynamic of somebody's growth and the dynamic of communication and the shift that happens in communication. And maybe we don't understand how to reassess what our expectations are from a relationship from point A to B to C. Sometimes we didn't even listen, y'all. I didn't learn that I should clearly state my expectations when I'm in a relationship. I didn't learn that. So now I know it. So then what if I'm friends, or I'm with somebody, or I'm in a relationship with somebody and it spans well over these 10, 20 years. Now I'm gonna have to do something hard, which is come to the table and say, hey, let's have a conversation and let's talk about what we both expect from this. If we want, do we, first of all, do we both want to continue? How do we both feel about the situation? And if we both value each other, then what do we have? What do we expect? What are our non-negotiables, and what are we willing to compromise on? What's the most important thing to us? You know, it's time out for the silent expectations. Oh, they should know me. I grew up with them. They know me. They know how I roll. Time out for that, because you don't even know how you have fully grown, and they don't know how they have fully grown, and y'all don't realize how that has to figure it out. Like, if somebody's growing at this level and you're growing at that level, you guys are always not gonna you're not gonna always be face to face like you probably were when you started. And that's okay. You don't have to throw something away just because you're not right at the same level. But you do have to be able to have a conversation and be at the levels and be able to talk and build a bridge. Y'all get what I'm saying? You have to be able to build a bridge and be able to conversate and figure out if there is a way to make it work, to figure it out, to still be each other's life, to be valuable to each other. There has to be some type of assessment. That's why we're talking about inventory assessment. You have to be able to assess a situation and see if it's helping you grow, and then you have to see if something is able to add to you. Sometimes we hold on to things because we just think this is all that there is, and the reality is, if the thing is no longer adding benefit to you, if it's no longer bringing you peace, if it's disrupting your peace, at what point do you make a decision to cut a thing off? And I'm not talking about abrupt because of your feelings. We're talking about putting the thing on the table and really looking at what are the pros, what are the cons. Have I tried everything? Is respect there? Is honesty there? Is trust there? Is open communication there? Are there compromises on both sides? Is there effort on both sides? If we don't have that, if that's not present, what are we doing? These are the hard conversations you need to have. If you want healthy relationships, you have to be willing to have these type of conversations that start with yourself. And this is why you should write it down. This is why people think, when I talk about therapy, oh, it's just want to sit on somebody's couch. Come on, that's a 1998 Frasier like thought process you have. It's so much more than that. Mostly they give you the tools to work things out and figure out how to live life and live the best version of it for you. Hey, unique girl, listen, I'm trying to just help people out, help the people, because sometimes we assume we know this stuff and we don't. And the conversation, having more conversations, opening up about this will mature you to a level that you're self-aware enough so you can have these conversations, and they start with you. And they're not going to be easy. I'm going to be honest here. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like, oh, you're going to go back to certain, if you're able to do this and be self-aware enough, I guarantee you're going to look back to a situation or relationship of some type that you realize that you were the problem, that you shut down because your feelings were hurt. What is that? That's the one violation of not having open communication, right? A relationship where you did not express your expectations in a non-confrontational way. You're gonna realize that when somebody asks you, "You okay?" you told them no. I mean, yes, you were okay, and you really weren't okay. So that wasn't honesty. Somebody told you how they feel, and you didn't respect their feelings. Now, I'm not saying you did all these things, but you did at least one of them. We all have. And if you cannot see yourself doing any of these things, the reality is that you're not self-aware enough. Why? Because nobody's perfect. We've all offended somebody at one point, and it's not that any of it's purposeful, right? Nobody, I mean, I don't think, okay, most good people don't go around purpose. People that want healthy relationships don't go around just being mean and disrespectful, all those things. So even if you think you're the nicest person in the world, I guarantee you have offended somebody. I guarantee you hurt somebody's feeling. I'm guaranteeing you have crossed the line with respect before. I'm guaranteeing you done something that you didn't realize, because guess what? When you're so close to a thing, you don't see it. So this is what happens when you take the moment to step back and take a look at it. You know, you ever see somebody say you're too close to something? You're so close to it, you can't see it right. It's like, I need a visual here. I need to give y'all a visual representation. Here is this bottle. You see this blue and white stripe, right? If I put it close enough to the camera, like, okay. If I put it, If I put it close enough to the camera, all you see is blue. And if I told you to tell me what this was and just have blue, you would not be able to tell me. But when I pull it back, you can say, oh, that's an Arizona bottle. That's not the best representation, but you get me. You get what I'm saying. When you're too close to a thing, you cannot properly identify it. When you pull back from it, you can say, oh, I see it in totality. I understand. Paris is holding it. Oh, it has a top. Oh, okay. I might not know it's Arizona, but I know something to drink. Oh, I see liquid inside of it. It's moving. Oh, I see she's okay. I can tell right away she's moving. It's not something that's permanent and stuck to the ground. You get what I'm saying. You can better evaluate a thing when you have some distance from it, when you are in a calmer moment. And guess what happens? Sometimes we're so ran by our emotions, we're not able to ever pull back from a thing. We're so used to, listen, I told you, there's a reason we're doing this, because the holidays are coming up and relationships are important. And then the new year is coming up. Y'all know how y'all about to get with the new year. New year, new me. Now, you ain't on this train, you're going to get left. I'm cutting people out of my life. And listen, I am an advocate for cutting people out of your life that you don't need. However, if you find yourself doing this often, I believe that you're not as self-aware as you think you are. I think that you run off of emotions a lot. And so then when somebody makes you upset, hurts your feelings, this is a defense mechanism. Let me cut them off before they hurt me any more than they are done. Or this feels familiar. The last person that hurt me, this was a pattern. So I see a pattern. So let me cut them off before they hurt me. Might be true, might not be true, but I've seen it too much. And so we have to get to a point where we are having these conversations and we're not just acting in the moment and making really permanent decisions on temporary feelings, right? I don't want to be a person that, looks back at something and says, maybe I was a little too harsh. Maybe I didn't really listen to them. Maybe I was dismissive of their feelings. And it's okay if you have those moments, right? What's not okay is if you have those moments and you're not able to go back and fix it. And when I say fix it, I'm not meaning to try to rehash a thing that's been broken, because sometimes you can burn a bridge so badly that it just cannot be reconstructed. But I do think that there's a lot that can help come from you literally taking a step back. And if you have access to that person, saying, you know what, I know this is silly, but when we had that conversation and that's our, I look back at it and I realized that I probably was a bit angry, and you might not know what was going on in my life. I was going through a really hard time, and it doesn't make it okay that I took it out on you, but that wasn't okay. And I just now realized it wasn't okay. And it might not mean much to you, but I really need to tell you that I'm sorry. And I didn't mean to be dismissive of your feelings. You might say, Paris, you tripping if you think I'm about to do all that. But I'm not. I'm telling you, not only will it heal pieces of them, but it's going to heal pieces of you. Because when you're able to say that, the first time that you're able to humble yourself and say something like that, baby, you are starting to heal. You are starting to heal. When you can admit to people when you might have been wrong. And let's be honest, you're not going to catch every situation. You don't even know when you've offended some people. There are some people that will never tell you that you've offended them. And that's unfortunate. There are people that will shut you down and never talk to you again, and you won't even know why. And guess what? I'm not expecting you to read minds. That's why we talk about open, clear communication, being clear about communication, because you want to be able to have dialect, and dialect starts with information. So that's just how we start this process, right? That's how we started, being able to have these conversations. Because listen, if we cannot learn from our past, any history buffs in here, they always say you don't know where you're going until you know where you came from. And I used to think history was stupid, but it's not. I understand that history is very telling of where we are and where we're going. So that's in everything. It's in everything. It's even in your relationships, how you deal relationally to people. If you have had abrupt, short relationships, or all your relationships end in arguments and fighting and cursing people out, then now you got to stop and look at a thing. You got to step back and look at a thing and figure out what part you played in it, even if it's just choosing people that's dysfunctional to engage with. You still played a part in that. And until we have those conversations, then you can't correctly analyze your current relationships. And you definitely will not be able to guarantee that you're walking into healthy relationships for your future. And there's no guarantees in life. But what I'm saying is that I am very intentional. I'm very intentional now where I'm at, because I don't have time to waste. Time is a currency. It's the only currency we have. So I'm not going to sit here and tittle tattle with people. People are like, oh, why you don't hang out as much? I love y'all. But if I'm gonna hang out when I feel like it makes sense for me. I'm going to spend time with you if I want to spend time with you. And I'm not in a situation to start just any frivolous relationships. So it gets to a point where I make a decision about that, and it's okay to make those decisions. So I'm being purposeful. And any relationships I'm in now, if we're going to be around each other, I want them to be healthy, even if they've been toxic in the past. I want us to now go forward and move forward with healthy, interactions, right? So, I'm just so passionate about this. I haven't even looked at the comments because I'm just like, I really want us to get this idea about what, hey, Natalie girl, what this means and how important it is to every part of our life. We think we know how to communicate, and it's crap. We don't. Most of y'all don't. Me, I just learned, and I've been talking for a long period of time. I think that I've just now got real full grasp of what it looks like to communicate effectively. It's a whole art. It's a whole class. There are books you can read about it. There's life lessons. You never will stop learning fully how to communicate. Communication is a fluid thing. You're going to do it over and over and over again. You're just going to expand. It changes between different subcycles and groups. You always can learn more about communication and being an effective communicator. Most of y'all not effective communicators, right? And then you wonder why you're not getting across to situations, or understand why you're not being heard and or listening correctly and coming to some type of conclusion, because communication's off. And the sooner you realize that, the faster you can figure out what to do with it. Tracy, that's so true. Accountability. We have to get to a point where we look at our relationships, take accountability for what part we played in it, and then have a table of accountability. Any relationship I'm in, it should be able to be judged. We should be able to have open and honest dialect. If we can't talk and we can't bring up things that bother us, let me tell you something. I always know when a relationship about to go bad. Let me tell you why. Because I get quiet. And I know that's not healthy. I'm absolutely 100% aware that it's not healthy now. But I just did not want to argue. I didn't want to offend. I didn't want to be combative. I didn't want to have a rough conversation. And so I would just kind of like agree with them and just say, okay, all right. When I get like that, when you sit back and notice you haven't heard my opinion, whether you think you want it or don't, but when you haven't heard that, I'm starting to cycle out, because guess what I feel, and I'm led by my emotions, and to me, I start to feel like you don't value my opinion. You don't care about what I'm talking about. You don't value my input. And when that happens, then why am I going to continue to share? You see what I'm saying? So, we have to just be super careful about um, what we're giving off directly or indirectly, and verbal and nonverbal, right? Because all of that's communication. And so, I'm hoping y'all getting something from this, right? Because I just really wanted to break down the process of what that looks like, inventory assessment, what that really looks like. And so I did see a comment earlier, and I just wanted to explain that first and then come back to it. So Yolanda, you said you're fine, but there's a person that's dealing with keep coming at me on social media. What do you do about that? And again, there's no one right or wrong answer, but what I will say is this: social media is just a tool. It's something that real people are behind it. Do people front on social media? Absolutely. Do people pretend like there's something else on social media? Absolutely. And so if you find out somebody's trying to bring you negativity, confront you, bring you drama, I say block them. And that's not running away from it. It's saying, listen, you know where I'm at. You know how to get in touch with me. If you want to have a legitimate conversation, let's have one. But the side diss, the fake, we're not doing all that. We're adults. If we can't conversate, if you can't do it in a mature way, then I won't be part of it. Listen, I'm always talking about how we should make sure we communicate, and that's absolutely necessary. And it's absolutely imperative that you do that and you go back and look at things. But if you're dealing with somebody that is completely showing toxic behavior, and toxic means anything that's abusive, and abuse, it's not just physical. We're talking about emotional abuse, mental abuse, people that are, disrespecting your peace, disrespecting your personhood, calling you out of your name, doing all type of things like that. Then you don't owe that a response. You don't owe it a response. Not only do you not owe a response, you owe yourself peace. So if somebody's not going to be willing to come to you in a way that's going to be to your standard, and meet you at the table to have a adult conversation, cut it off, because you're just going to have heartbreak. Cut it off. And I love, Tracy, what you said. Respond in silence. No, like there's nothing. It's not a need. And then I know sometimes you might say, well, it's hard because I see it. Block them, baby. Use that block button, okay? I will block a sucker. Let me tell you something. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say sucker, but let me tell you something. When somebody is dedicated to take your peace, when somebody is on a mission to bring negativity to your life, you owe it to yourself to say, it's one thing to say, oh, just look at it and ignore it. But if you just know you're not there yet, then take it out your vision. Take it out your view. I don't want to be able to see it. I don't want to hear it. Somebody bring you something about that. Guess what so-and-so did? Be like, hey, me and you cool. But if you don't want to be cool, keep bringing me stuff that they telling me. That's not none of my business what they saying about me. None of my business. I done blocked them. If you want to come tell me about what they saying or sending me what they saying, you're not my friend because you're trying to disrupt my peace. And what they're saying about me is none of my business. Boo-boo. What they think of me, somebody that's not my friend, somebody that I care about, somebody that's currently in my life, that's none of my business. So you don't entertain it. But see, these are the type of things, this type of dialogue we need to have, letting people know it's okay to say no to certain things and say yes to other things. Boundaries. We talk about boundaries. That's a huge thing with relationships. You have to be able to put up boundaries and be able to say, if I'm going to engage in something, or if I choose that I'm going to protect my peace and not engage in it, that is completely up to you. That's completely up to you. Stop putting it in other people's hands. Well, I'm gonna look like I'm just a combative. I'm gonna look like I'm just a rude person, and I don't want to look that way, man. Like I told y'all, in 2022, and then we 2021 right now. It's time out for looking like we're healthy and whole, and time out and time to put the work into being healthy and whole. It's time out to looking like we have the right answers and we're having good relationships and we're suffering. No relationship is perfect. But are you taking real intentional steps? I mean, are you taking real intentional steps to fix you and fix the things that are broken and having real conversations to value this? Listen, if 2020 and 2021 with this pandemic has not taught you anything else, it should have taught you that time is very valuable. It's the only currency we have. Time is precious. I hate to say, like, people say, oh, life is short. I don't like to say life is short. Life is precious. Life is precious. And we need to really respect the life that we have a lot more than we already do. We need to have 10 times more gratitude than we already have. Whether you believe in God or not, um, I'm grateful for every day that my creator put me here. I'm grateful for every day that I'm here and I have another day, another opportunity. So, it gets to a point where you have to be honest about this life we have and if you are really living it and being intentional about it. And one of the things that another currency are relationships. We're all meant to be relational, be around each other. People take that one scripture in the Bible that says man is not meant to be alone, and they think it's just about marriage, and it is not. Sorry, not sorry. I'm grown. It's about relationships. There should be relationships that you have, whether it's friends, acquaintances, parent, child, sibling, um, spousal relationships, intimate relationships, all those relationships. We need each other. There used to be a song to say, I need you, you need me, we need each other to survive. Like that song was. It sounds very simple, but it's really powerful. Because sometimes we all like, oh, I'm self-made, I'm independent, I don't need nobody. And I think that is something we've had to say to make it. And it's like a, what is that called, like it's a defense mechanism. And honestly, it's something that at one point you really did have to embody. Like it was moments in my life where I felt like I really needed to push it, and like I'm a survivor, like I feel like I had to be that person. But then that was just a survival moment. Now we have to shift from surviving to thriving. And when you're thriving, I do need people. I need everybody. I am not this one person show. As far as like in my life, I am now understanding that I can learn from anybody. I am now understanding that I can you know I can grab something from here and there and there, and it can make me a better person. And relationships are currency as well. So if relationships are currency, then we need to do better at them. We need to not just think that relationship is somebody just, oh, I got my 20-year hitters. That's all. It's not just that. You can have somebody that you met in the last year that's closer to you than the 20-year person. And vice versa. You can have somebody that you know forever. And even though you guys are changing and growing, you guys are adapting well. And you can have it where, like my son just turned 18, or he just went away to college. He's my son. He would always be my son. But then there are sometimes, like we're going to a concert in a couple of weeks. Like I'm excited to go to a concert with my son. And he's still my son, but in that moment, he's going to be my company. I used to be excited to go to movies with him sometimes. Like, why can't we? Why can't we learn to shift and be able to say, okay, this is where we're at now? Change is not bad, guys. We cannot demonize change anymore. We can no longer afford to do that. Hey, Crystal dear, um, we can no longer stigmatize um, the shift in relationships, the change in relationships is perfectly normal. It's perfectly normal. Things are going to change and it's okay. Don't let anybody else put a box around what your relationship should look like. Everybody's going to be different. To you, you might say, well, I couldn't deal with somebody that didn't call me every day. Well, that might be what you need. But what if that other person is not that person? What if that person, like, I really could just talk, once a week and be cool and just have a check-in, or once every other week? If y'all never talk about what you need, your needs and expectations, somebody's either feeling like they're overly drawn on, like pulled on, and somebody's probably feeling like they're not getting enough attention. And then, but both could be like, we both love each other, but we are on different pages and we don't even know because we don't have the conversations. Because the same thing that was okay 10 years ago is not the same thing that's okay today. The same thing that was okay last year is not the same thing that's okay this year. Like, why don't we have these conversations more? It's not a bad thing to have them. And don't let anybody make you feel bad for having these conversations and wanting to have them. It is actually going to grow you. The way you can lead, if you like, well, I don't know, Paris, you tripping. And what if I tell my mama I want to have this conversation with her? Or what if I tell, my sibling, they're going to laugh at me? Or what if I tell my best friend, they're going to trip about, if I say something like this? This is how you start it. You say this, listen, I'm trying to be a better person in this year. And I really want to be intentional after this pandemic. I really cherish my relationships and I want to just make sure I'm doing the best thing possible. So let's have a conversation about the things that we both expect so that there are not any more situations where there are silent hurts, silent expectations. Let's talk about the things that we might have done that we didn't like in the past. And let's try to figure out and forge a path forward. If your relationships are as strong as you think they are, baby, they'll survive that. Hey, Empire girl. Yes, the conversation is so necessary. It's so necessary, but we're scared to have them. Why? Because we think that if we have these conversations with our loved ones, that they're going to be critical. They're going to laugh at us. They're going to say, oh, girl, you tripping. This is what we do. And the reality is, it's not about tripping. It's not about trying to be, you know how sometimes our family do. We got the jokes. You Ayanna. Oh, you Oprah. Oh, you Dr. Phil. Whatever you need to call me, sis, bruh. Whatever you need to call me. I'm trying to be healthy. Call me healthy, though. When you finish telling me all those things, call me healthy. Call me trying to evolve. Call me trying to be intentional. Call me trying to be a person that's growing. And if you don't value that, then I understand what to do next. But my goal is that we all grow, right? That's the goal. It's time out for empty conversations. Y'all know which ones I'm talking about when we on the phone talking. Hey, what's up? Not much. How your family doing? They good. How your family doing? Oh, that good. How's this and that? Oh, that's good. And then y'all just really sitting on the phone breathing because you feel obligation. Come on, y'all. Don't get me. I felt like I was about to preach. That was gonna preach. Y'all still talking out of obligation. And y'all don't even get deep anymore. Y'all conversation is so surface that you're not even really connecting on a real deep level anymore. And so then you're now just, oh well, I don't switch up. But you don't even realize that you don't even know how your best friend is feeling these days because y'all don't talk that deep no more. Because somebody got offended and y'all get real surface now. Or you didn't tell somebody that you've been battling with depression. So y'all, I'm about to whip my cat because she just get off. I'm sorry. I'm very nice to my cat, but I can't right now. Y'all should see how much stuff she just knocked down. It's so much. See, let me evaluate that situation. I was upset at first, and now I realize it's the cat, and that cat was just trying to figure out what was going on. And so now I need to pull it back. And I'll deal with that situation a little bit later, maybe how I react to it. Tracy, you'll say, put her out. Listen, Alicia, that's how it be. We have to really, really do some real honest work. It's time out for this like pity pat stuff. I don't know about y'all. I don't have time for pity pat. This gonna sound harsh, but I hope y'all really receive it. I'm not calling nobody if we ain't talking about nothing. I'm not. Just not. If we get surface conversations, I love you. I can love you. But if you don't want to talk about something, if we don't get deep, if we're not having conversations besides what's the weather like, and that doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean I don't value you. It just means that whatever's going on between us right now, we're kind of like off. And we're not getting deeper than we normally should, than we used to. And until we can have those real deep conversations to figure out how to amend that, then I'm just going to shift somewhere else. Like Like y'all might not know, I do this live. I work full time. I'm in school. I'm I have my child I check in with. I have a business I'm trying to run. I have so many groups I'm a part of that I'm trying to do different things with, and I have a whole lot of family. I have friends, and I love everybody. I have a lot of acquaintances, people I know, new people I'm learning to know. It's nothing personal. I just want you to respect my time like I respect yours. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to me, let's have a conversation about that. Or let's just pick up what we can and do the hey, how you doing? The text. Y'all know how y'all do that WID. How your family doing? I'm not saying nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, don't y'all want deep, fulfilling, intimate relationships? Don't y'all want relationships where it's not just always take, but there's some give? Don't y'all want people that you can talk to and that can really give you constructive criticism and not just the yes person? Don't y'all want to be in a relationship with somebody that's really there and not just fake there and just kind of like, only there when times are good? Don't y'all want relationships where you can even cry and know that you really have somebody that's not really like laughing at you on the low? That's what real relationship is about. People with the highs and lows and being there and being really just somebody you can just be vulnerable with. I believe there are so many people that are closed off because of past hurt. And this is why these conversations matter. Because if we have the conversations, if we evaluate the situations, we can figure out how to move currently healthy in our current situations and then have healthy future relationships that we go into with intentionality. That's what's important. Tracy, you hit on the head. Conversations should have substance. Listen, period, point blank. And listen, it's different for everybody. Maybe you just want to be on the phone breathing. Listen, by all means, sis, bruh, by all means, if that's what y'all, if that's good for you, then do that. Sometimes when you're dealing with grief or hurt or something, maybe that's what you want to do. I'm not saying that you can't do it. I just said me. And I said most intimate relationships require a little bit more than just the breathing and a little bit more than the surface conversations. Sometimes you got people that's surrounded by a whole lot of people, but they feel lonely. And most people won't admit that. I've been there too. I've been in a big group of people and been like, Dad, what's wrong here? What is the problem here? And what I realized is that we were having a whole bunch of regular conversations, funny conversations, juicy conversations, gossipy conversations, but with nothing intimate, with nothing deep, with nobody talking about no real stuff. We was all just kicking it. We was all hanging out and nobody was really talking about nothing. So unless we was kicking it, we really just didn't have nothing of substance. We didn't connect, nothing deep. Or I help you out, or we trauma bonded. Y'all ain't ready for that conversation yet. Where the only time we can ever talk is when we both hurt and we both hurt at the same person. So we both get together and talk about that same person. That's the only time we got something to talk about. And I'm gonna admit, I've done it. I've done it. Me, yes, I used to do it all the time. Oh, don't let me be mad. We can have the best conversations. Oh, they did what to you? What? Listen, I tried to tell you about how they was because they did it to me. Listen, I'm just saying. I'm saying and then don't let it be family or something. Look, I love them and everything. I love them, but they got to get their life together. And you know how bad that is. I'm laughing about it, but it's horrible. It's horrible. Sometimes the only thing you got in common with some people is that you can get on there and talk about somebody else that y'all got an issue with. Man, I have repented for that stuff. And guess what? I am no longer, you can't call me no more and talk about, if that's all we can talk about, if we ain't got nothing else to talk about but that person, I'm cool. I'm cool. Not because I'm above it, not because I didn't used to do it, but because it's messy. And that's not substance. We so busy telling each other about what's going on. And don't get me wrong, it could all be truthful. That's what used to catch me up. I'm like, well, it's the truth. It's the truth. I don't care if it's the truth or not. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So if we know that, somebody told me this, but they said life and death is in the power of the tongue. So understand that that's a two-way arrow. And I'm like, what does that mean? And they was like, just like somebody can kill you with your mouth, I mean, no, they said that just like somebody could talk against you or talk down on you, they could be trying to kill you with their mouth. You could be doing the same thing to them. Or just like the same way you can give life to a situation by encouraging somebody and speaking positively on them, you can do the same thing for somebody else. And I didn't understand that it's the same type of power. It's just how you choose to use it. And so when somebody was like, you better stop murdering people. And I'm like, I ain't never murdered nobody. And they was like, when the last time you talked about somebody? I'm like, but what I said was right. And I had to realize that I've then come to a point where if I'm not saying it to that person, it's not worth saying. Don't get me wrong. I still believe people can vent and have a moment where they get things out. But when it's a point where you rehash a situation, you're talking, then you got to really look at what's behind it. And usually those are feelings, hurt feelings and things that are that need to be resolved and usually resolved for that person. Listen, I'm learning and growing. I ain't perfect and I'm working on it every day. But it's very important that we have these conversations so we can just grow and be better. I love y'all, and I really want us to grow. I want us to have good conversations, good and have support. It's so many people that's leaving this earth because they don't feel supported. And if we don't feel supported, you don't feel like you have anybody. And so let's make sure we're so much more intentional about this thing called relationship. Don't just be in a relationship because it seems cute. We can go on vacations together. We can go hang out together. We won't be lonely. I don't have to sit by myself. Like let's be way more intentional there. Let me read some of these comments and then I'm gonna get out of here because I'm talking forever. Alicia, you said hurt together and speak about one person. Yes. Listen, Alicia, I'm telling on myself. I've done it so many times. And it's ugly when you think about it. It's ugly. It's ugly. We get on here, we could talk. We can't, me and you can't talk for more than 5 minutes about just life, but we can sit up and talk about that person for an hour. Messy. I'm not gonna do it no more. It's so much energy draining. I got too much to do. How I can't finish my homework, but I can talk about. No, I ain't got the energy no more. I misplaced energy. I ain't got the time. Let's see. Tracy, you said, and a little bit more than just what's going on with you. It should actually be listening to what's going on with them and genuine care. Tracy, you done said something. I don't even know if we got time to go into that. Y'all, she done said something. You shouldn't just call somebody always telling them what's going on with you. You need to call people and ask them how they doing. Listen to what they're doing, talking about, and actually have a reciprocal conversation. You can't just call and always dump in somebody's lap. If you're doing that, you're a user. And when I say a user, I say it in the most nicest way possible. Some people say, oh, well, sometimes I'm going through a hard time. I just need somebody to listen to me. That's okay. We all need that. It always happens. It happens. We all do that. We've all done it before. But if that's your, like, if you constantly do that, and that's always what it is, you always dumping, and that person is always just listening, and you say stuff like, well, they're such a good listener. They're such a good listener. Let me help you out, sister, bro. You think they don't have their own problems? I'm not saying that they don't mind being there for you for yours. You don't think that they have things? And even if their things are not what you think it's the same as yours, you don't ask them. You don't ask them how they're doing. And even when they say I'm fine, they rush past it. You say, are you really good? You don't probe. Because listen, I've been around people that say I'm good too. And sometimes, and I love to talk. Y'all know I love to talk. But sometimes I gotta sit back and be like, but what's really going on with you? What's been kind of quiet. Sometimes people's quiet tells more about them than they're talking. So y'all, like, this intentionality. When you know people, when you're intimate, you know them, you know how they kind of move. And when they're not moving a certain way, you need to figure out how to be better friends to them. Tracy, definitely power in our words. That was a good one, Tracy. So good. And we should all strive to be a better version of ourselves every single day. Every single day. Every single day. If you want to sit here and act like you have it together, that's why you won't grow. The moment you think you got it together, you stop growing. Stop trying to look like you got it together and work on actually doing it. Like, you should literally be able to say something that you learned new in the last 3 months. Every time somebody talks to you, you should be able to have that on because it's new, it's fresh in your head. Like, you should be able to say, you know what? I learned this about people, or I learned this about my child, or I learned this about my parent, or I learned this about my spouse, or I learned this about my friend, or whatever. You should be growing in everything. And if you don't have that, then that means this just you just talking. Everybody love to say I'm growing and I'm learning every day. I've been a better version of me every day. But like, are you really doing it? Like, where your receipts at? We got receipts for messy stuff, but where's your receipts of growth? I'm gonna put that on a shirt. I got receipts, ma'am, for my growth. I got receipts. I'm investing in my personal development. How about you? That's the flex. That's the new flex. Healthy relationships are the new flex. Invest in you. That's what you can tell people about. Them Birkin bags, them red bottoms, the new house, that stuff is fleeting. But flex on you growing, baby, because that's the thing that you can always like. That's real estate in this world. That's real stuff. All right, y'all. I know I'm going long. I just really am passionate about this. Oh, hey, Seneca girl. Thank you, sis. I'm just trying to talk. I just want us to have better relationships. I see us suffering. People don't feel like they're supported. And I just want to make sure we are talking right, being intentional, and doing better. So I love you guys. I'm done. It's been over an hour. I love it. I love y'all. Y'all came in here today. Listen, I appreciate it. I really want us to just continue these conversations because I'm telling y'all, we're going to heal, baby. 2020 out, we're going to walk into life with a new attitude, new perspective, better, healthier, stronger relationships. We're going to stop just blaming everybody else. And then we're going to start getting to a point where we realize what we can do to better our situation. And it usually starts with us. So I love you guys. If you just came on, please go back and watch the replay. I'm about to post it now. It's going to be up on YouTube and Facebook. And also, please share. I used to be like really shy about asking people to share, but not anymore because I know somebody on your timeline, somebody in your family, somebody you care about needs to hear this. Share it with them. Maybe this is what you share with them so you can start the conversation if you don't know how to start it. Maybe it's somebody you know that you need to have a conversation with, but you don't know how to say it. Share this with them. Tell them, hey, watch this, and let's have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Or tell them, like, I heard something on here. This crazy girl, she's talking crazy, but you know what? She's kind of sounding good with some of the stuff she was saying. That might open the door to the conversation. Who knows? So share it, or just share it on your timeline because you don't know who actually can use it. Everybody can use help with relationships. We're all growing. I still need help. We all need help. You don't arrive. We're getting better, and we're going each day. So if I learn it, I'm going to show it. Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate that. I love you more, Trey. I do. And Seneca, you said it's what you need. I'm so glad it's what you needed. Oh, I love y'all. I love y'all so much. Love it, love it, love it. And Yolanda, you've been rocking with me the last couple times. Thank you, beautiful. I love you, girl. And you've been rocking out. I know you've been going through some stuff, but you listen. You coming out smelling like roses. So I love y'all. Have an amazing day. And don't forget, you are enough. You're enough. Why? Because you don't have to do anything to earn this thing. You're enough just as you are. I love you guys. Have an amazing night. I will see you Thursday. We're going to talk more about this relationship stuff. All right.